Hello, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to come to our webinar. So this webinar is going to be regarding Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. So my name is Ben. I'm here with Ribbon Associates, and joining me today is going to be Wendy
Hi.
from one of our partners, Cloud 2020. So I'll go through some of the sort of admin side of things just at the beginning, a brief introduction of who I am, who Ribbon are, introduce Wendy and how we work with Cloud 2020. And then I'll be passing over to Wendy for the main part of the webinar. So just a little bit of housekeeping at the beginning. Everyone will be muted during the entire thing, but if you have questions, feel free to submit them in the Q&A part. We should have time to get to them at the end, but if we don't, feel free to reach out to me or Wendy directly afterwards, and we can address some of those there as well. And of course, we'll be sending out a copy of the webinar afterwards as well. So you're free to go through it at your leisure. There's going to be quite a lot of information for us to digest and talk about and understand in this. So by all means, take the time afterwards to really go through it, understand everything. And then following that, if you've got questions, you can reach out to us as well. So a very brief agenda, like I said, I'll introduce myself and how we work. I'll hand over to Wendy, and then just at the end, we'll have time for some of those Q&As and closing comments. So who am I? So my name's Ben, and I work for Ribbon Associates. So we are a managed service provider based in Camberley in Surrey. We service essentially the whole of the UK though. So regardless of where you are or where you're coming from, we're more than happy to help you. I have a background in sort of consulting and data and working with big enterprise businesses and small to medium businesses as well, helping them understand some of the IT problems they've got, some of the exciting things that are coming up that they should be aware of. And really what I'm really interested in is making sure that tech and IT is a way to help your business grow. I don't see it as something that should just be for the sake of it. There's no point having lots of fancy bells and whistles if they're not really supporting and building that foundation for your business. So it's really, really exciting for me to be able to show you some of the ways that some of the tech that is slightly lesser known. Certainly, if you'd have asked me a year ago, how does the Power Platform work and all of the Power Apps, I wouldn't have anywhere near the knowledge that I do now. And thanks to people like Wendy, I do and can really show you how that can benefit your business. So I'll hand over to Wendy in just a second, but I'd just like to point out that, you know, as an IT company, it's really important to us to have partners that are as fantastic as Cloud 2020 and Wendy specifically are with us. It's very difficult in the world of IT to be experts in absolutely everything. And I think that having reliable, trustworthy, and really sort of industry leading partners like Cloud 2020 allows us to really help all of the different people and companies that we support in really, really helpful and unique ways. And without people like Wendy and some of our other partners as well, we wouldn't be able to give you the tech and the support that we do. So thank you, Wendy, for taking the time to come and do this with us. Really, really appreciate it, and really looking forward to your input on this as well.
Thanks, Ben. That's a great introduction, and hopefully I can live up to all of those marvellous words there. But we've been working with Ribbon Associates for quite a long time now. I think most of the time that Cloud 2020 has existed. And obviously we know you as the providers of Microsoft 365 services, that kind of whole managed services aspect for your customers, and we know that you do a very good job there, so it's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So I think I need to sorry, I jumped across you there, really didn't mean to.
No, you're absolutely fine. If you grab away and I'll let you
Sure.
go on.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So am I still in the meeting, Ben? For some reason my team's kicked me out just a moment. Yeah, momentarily. I think it's because I had one thing on top of the other. So my apologies there, and I will just share again. Forgive me. Okay. So Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform, as Ben said, it's a big topic, and I think probably 7 years ago I knew very little about it myself. My background is running a small IT services business, not as successfully as Riven, but obviously in that same arena. So we kind of knew Dynamics when those big packs of CDs used to come out from Microsoft, because we got the action pack, and we tried to implement it ourselves. We were convinced that we should be able to do this ourselves, and we didn't quite get to grips with Dynamics CRM 4.0. So I'm really showing my age there to kind of mention that, but that's how far back I go with it. We did run a very small customer services platform actually back in the day using those discs, but things have changed a lot. So what is the Dynamics 365 stable of products, and what is the Power Platform? Well, the Power Platform really refers to that kind of functionality area known as BizApps. So within within Microsoft, this is known as the BizApps, business applications. The kind of area that Riven work in is known as modern workplace. Two things you could see that you really want to have working together, and that is one of the beauties of Microsoft and one of the beauties of Dynamics 365. So Dynamics 365 is an already out-of-the-box solution for things like sales, customer service, field service, marketing, which is now helpfully known as customer insights journeys. All of those things form part of the Dynamics 365 stable of products, and they come ready-made with all of these great functionality focus areas, which are known as entities or tables now. So there are your accounts, the businesses you work with, contacts, the people that work within those businesses. For example, with sales, then it's things like leads going to opportunities. With customer service, then it's things like cases, entitlements, all of those things, that they come out of the box like that. The Power Platform and Power Apps offers you the opportunity to use those entities and tables, but actually build your own applications, bringing through various parts of those, the aspects of that you want to use. So they are interchangeable, they're not the same thing, but they are working on the same platform, and they've got this sitting behind them is this huge database in the sky called Dataverse, which is basically where you store all of the data. We'll come on to that just very briefly in a moment, but I'm just going to move on to the next slide. I've got loads of slides here. We won't get through them all. I can promise you that. So why Dynamics and the Power Platform? Well, the idea is that you get away from having silos of data, essentially, that you've got a single platform where you can keep all that information, that important information, safely, securely, and know that it's going to be available to you wherever you are and whatever you're working on, actually, whether it be a boat or a mobile or something. That would be a nice life, wouldn't it? So the other part of that is compatibility. So within what is known as the Power Platform are things like tools like Power Automate Flow, which allow us to connect to external platforms or internally to create flows, to create workflows, to create automated emails, for example. But the compatibility we're really talking about here is the fact that it sits with your Microsoft 365 applications, which you know very well. They are things like Outlook or Excel or Word, PowerPoint, all of those. And it all sits together so that you don't get this thing where you can't see a document because it's created in a different application within your CRM, for example. A part of that is also now Teams, which is really knitting together all of those different places and providing us with a place to collaborate, both internally and externally. So when we're talking about mobile, what we're really saying is Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform is really device agnostic. We don't care what what device you're using. It could be a Mac, it could be a phone, it could be an Apple phone, it could be a Samsung phone. You can get to a browser. There are applications that sit actually on your phone, mobile applications. You can use this on a tablet if you're out on site, for example, laptops and desktops, and you're sharing all of that information you are accessing via the web. So in the past, we used to share them by making connections between desktops and laptops, for example, remote desktoping. Remember all of those days. Now we don't have to do that, because the data is held in the cloud, and we don't have to worry about security, because we can only log in if we've got a login via our Microsoft 365 tenant and a specific license associated and assigned to us, and then the security roles that will actually manage what we can see. Functions and features, I think, the range of functions and features that you can get within a Dynamics 365 platform is huge, from sales and customer service. All of those things are also being regularly updated by Microsoft. The metrics are built into it. So views and dashboards enable you to see all of your valuable data, your sales pipeline, how many cases were resolved this week, were they resolved within your KPI time, for example, how many marketing emails have you sent out and had opened or clicked through. Data, we've just mentioned that the data is stored in the cloud, it's held securely. The kinds of levels of security that Microsoft operate are at the top level of military-based security. So that's really important. And then development, it's being continually developed by Microsoft. They are continually adding new features. There is a wave at the beginning and the middle of the year of new changes, new productivity items coming through. So they've invested huge amounts of money into this. It's not going anywhere. If you buy a Dynamics 365 platform, you're not going to end up in a dead end, which you can do with some bespoke CRMs, for example. And then there's price. I mean, the thing is that licensing can always feel a little bit expensive to a business owner, particularly if you're in the small business arena. But if you look at it, it's the equivalent mostly of a cup of coffee a day for the business for the functionality that you're running your business on or running your sales team on. We think it's worthwhile. We also say, look very closely when you're offered a very cheap licensing price, because that tends to the platform that's offering that usually tends to make up that money in the cost of storing the data, and that will only ever grow as you use the solution. So we were talking earlier around data and the access to data and the way that that's shared. Excuse me a moment. Previously, if you had a solution, an application that a piece of software that was sitting, say, on your server and shared internally in your business, it would be quite common that you had to pay to get that data out to whoever had supplied that application to you, that piece of software to you. And then you couldn't actually make it available until it had been turned up into something called a .csv file, which you probably all know is the equivalent of an Excel file, but it works across platforms here. When you've got your data in a Dynamics 365 platform, it is available to you. It can be exported to Excel, but it's also available to to Teams, for example, to be shown via team channels. You can, there isn't such a thing really as siloing the information any longer. So Microsoft's avowed intent really to empower people the world over by using data and providing access to data and solutions to use that data. But it's a good idea to just take a really quick look at how those things are linked together. And one of the places that you might not know that Microsoft actually owns is LinkedIn now. they bought LinkedIn a while ago, there was a huge kind of outcry about it at the time, and lots of people tried to stop that happening. And I remember at the time wondering, well, showing very short sight on my behalf, I think, but why do they want it? Well, what's brilliant is if you've got a Dynamics 365 sales app and you buy a Sales Navigator license, then you can actually, from your Dynamics 365 sales app, you can show who you know within an organization that you might be targeting to actually get some work from or to get a connection into. Not only who you know, but who the other people within your organization know as well, which is great when you've got that in CRM. You're not going outside of that to bring that information in. You can also send in messages directly from Dynamics 365 Sales, and you can, within LinkedIn, create sales lists that you can approach as well, the people that you approach. All of this data is then sitting on top of your Microsoft 365 tenant, which is really the kind of, it's the server room essentially of your system now. And it's where obviously you've got your Microsoft 365 tenant, you've got your Exchange Online now, you've got all of those places that used to sit in a box in a corner of the room getting dusty, and the accountant used to come in and work on your bookkeeping, which you weren't meant to do, but everybody did, and I know they did. But Microsoft 365 now is really the hub, the cornerstone of everything else. And then the solutions are sitting in environments that are sitting in your Microsoft 365 tenant. This is what allows you to send and receive emails via CRM, essentially, and to have those emails visible in your Outlook, for example, and in CRM. And then there's Power Apps. There's a huge number of Power Apps. I've got a load of slides, probably about, I don't know, 10 slides of the different types of Power Apps that there are. We won't get time to go through them all, but they are, I'm seeing them as the joining, almost like the muscle fibers hanging everything together, because they allow you to create customized areas that will sit on top of the same database as Dynamics 365, for example, but allow you to just tease that bit of your business and make sure that you're actually getting as productive as you can. You can do this using something called a model-driven app or a Canvas app even, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on if we get time. So we spoke earlier around Dynamics 365 and the number of different functionalities that you have within it. I'm just going to keep a quick eye on the time there. So yes, we've got sales, we've got marketing, which is now called Customer Insights Journeys. We've got customer service, and we've got the Power Platform. The reason why I'm leaving out commerce, operations, finance, and human resources is because they operate using a slightly different method of implementation, which is much more suitable for the enterprise customer. It uses something called life cycle services, and it is a very costly implementation given and is really only and the costs of the licensing for those platforms are much higher. The customer service, sales, marketing are all part of what is known as customer engagement. So that's our focus. We don't really operate in the finance world. However, we do have a Power App that will work using on Dynamics 365 customer engagement that will provide a human resources solution, for example. Wow. Slightly overwhelming, isn't it? I mean, I put this in just to show how many things there are there, and it is beginning to get a little bit slightly out of date now. But one of the things it does mention, which we haven't spoken about before, we will actually a little bit later on, is Business Central, which is which is a fairly new product, but it's gaining a lot of traction in the small business community. Actually, it's considered very useful in that environment. But you can see here that we've got this whole CRM solutions that we mentioned here. Sales professional, I will speak a little bit about that. Microsoft Relationship Sales, which is an integrated Sales Navigator license, but you need a minimum of 10 licenses for that. So it doesn't always work for people. Customer service, same with the customer service professional. Then we've got field service and we've got marketing. We now know that that's a slightly different name. Microsoft likes to do that. But then we've got this whole kind of modular system approach below that. AI, we will talk a little bit about AI. These were the original AI solutions that Microsoft brought out, but there actually now is AI in sales, in customer service and in field service. And then these mixed reality solutions and dynamic service. Now, obviously, these aren't suitable for everybody, but it's just great to know that they're there. And then there's this whole Power Platform here with Power Automate and Power BI, the Power Apps themselves, and then the virtual agents, which are enable you to bring in information from, say, a legacy solution. This is particularly useful if you're offering services around industries such as banking or insurance, because they regularly grow by acquisition, but then they're left with these legacy solutions which have a lot of data in them. Power Virtual Agents are a way to enable you to pull that data in. Power App Portals, essentially a website. So then on top of that, we've got the world of Microsoft 365, Microsoft Azure, and Forms Pro and Graph. I mean, they seem like a bit of an outlier there, but it's worth mentioning them. So we've pretty much gone around all of this, but it's a deeper dive, and you will get this slide among all the others when we reach the end of this and we send them out. Worth mentioning here, if you're within any of these specific industries, Microsoft has engaged with people to build accelerators, which means it's a very quick way of bringing a lot of customized solutions into your Dynamics 365 platform. So you need to buy, for example, the this would be Dynamics 365 Sales or Customer Service, for example, but then you would get these additional parts to it, which typically in the past would have had to be built out by your partner. I'll just pause there for a moment and ask if we've had any questions come through that I might be able to answer while I'm here.
Not necessarily through the Q&A, but I actually had one. And whilst I've seen these slides a few times, it's just sort of occurring to me now. How do you ordinarily think about how you would engage with this? If I put myself as a small business owner, there are so many things on those slides, right? That it's impossible for me to figure out which one I need, when I need it, why I need it, why this one works and why that one doesn't.
Absolutely.
Do you find that people often come to you and say, I'd like this specific piece, or do they essentially just sort of come and say, help?
Help. Well, sometimes people do because they get hooked on the product, but they're not always right about which one they should have. And I think really, and it is overwhelming, and it's huge. And the other parts of this, and we'll talk about it a little further on when we talk about some of the power ups that are available, is a Dynamics 365 solution might be overkill. Might really be overkill, and what you're wanting is a place to store information that you know is not going to disappear out the door with your sales manager when they decide to leave and they take their black book with them, you know, or their laptop with them, or whatever it is that you've still got internally. You want somewhere where you can see and track the interaction with the customer, and that other people's colleagues can see that, for example, if they go on holiday. If you come with those kinds of questions, how do I solve this problem? Then you're much likelier to actually get a solution that fits for you. we've had experience of people actually just buying the licenses and then contacting us and saying, why can't I see this thing? So, and sometimes Microsoft doesn't do itself a lot of favors in the way that they market this thing, because they can make it look like it's really simple, and it's not rocket science, but like anything, the more you know, the easier it is.
Interesting. So it's not always the case that if I want the best, I should buy the best. It's really sort of tailored to my needs, as opposed to, well, I know I'll want something, so I'll just buy the absolute best one that I can get and figure it out later.
There is, I don't think, what did they used to say? Nobody got fired for buying IBM. That's what they used to say back in the days. I don't think you get fired for buying Microsoft. It's a fairly safe bet, and I don't think you get fired for buying Dynamics 365, for example. But often implementations can fail, projects can fail, because people have not thought through the impact of what they're purchasing there, or being shown the scope, the scale of what could be achieved. Let's put it like that, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be horses for courses. Dynamics 365 won't suit everybody. Power Ups will suit most people, I think. But there are limitations. If you pay more, you get more functionality. So, and we'll talk about that a little bit further on, if it's all right. Just move on here. We've spoken about this, and you will have this this slide when you get hold of these, but it's just going through the processes that we've got, the platform and the tools there. So we're into sales here, and this is what it looks like. This is what a Dynamics 365 sales environment looks like along the top here, and you won't be able to see very clearly, but we've got a business process flow bar. This is the type of thing that you can have in your solution that encourage your colleagues to use the same process for every single lead, for every single opportunity, for every single case resolution, for example. And they can be customized to suit your process, as well as you can take advantage of whatever's out of the box, because maybe you don't have a written down process. So why not start with something that's been really well researched? So the kind of headlines really are around building trusted relationships, and that's because within I've kind of focused these slides really on the impact that AI is having on the sales process, on the sales solution here. So this is particularly helpful because it in the background, the AI Copilot is running lead scoring on all the leads that are coming in. It's monitoring interaction. It's checking if marketing emails that have been sent out have been clicked through, for example. It will mark them up then, and then it creates a work list for me to come into the next day. Often we have people saying things like, oh, can I have an email come whenever leads come in? Say I've got an integration working it in, and we say, why would you do that? That just turns into email noise. Make it a point to go and check every morning, and Copilot will tell you this has been newly assigned to you. You ask the question, it will tell you. So there's so many ways in which it will nudge us to do the right thing, to behave in the right way, and that should inevitably boost our productivity. And we've got these wonderful kind of embedded charts and dashboards which come out of the box. Essentially what it's showing us here is this is the most valuable opportunity that we've got, and the closest date to our time today. This is actually a little bit overdue, so that's a good nudge to go and have a look at what's going on. And then also I just want to mention here, you can see it not very clearly, but this is the timeline. So this is where all the information that's coming in from, say, Outlook in terms of emails that is tracked to this will appear in that timeline. Any notes that your colleagues are making, any tasks that are being assigned to them that get completed, they're all in there. And that's a little bit of AI coming on there. The opportunity score there is 96 and grade A. We probably want to get onto that. So this is Dynamics 365 Sales. It's kind of like the flagship. It's probably where everybody started, I think. But what else do we have? We have customer service. Customer service is your service desk. We used to use Task, I think. Very nice people sent me some chocolates one year. But don't get chocolates from Microsoft, unfortunately. But it is that thing about the fact is that you get the same cases coming in over and over and over again. So how do we enable our agents, our customer service agents, to really respond quickly in a timely manner and just give the information that we want to complete it, especially if somebody else has actually solved the problem? One of the ways that the customer service platform does that is it has a knowledge base, which actually used to be machine learning, but is now incorporating with AI. So it will boil up that information. It will present it to the service agent. It will say, you probably want to take a look at this. We think we found the answer. All of these things lead to happier customers, and also your service agents don't get quite so fed up answering the same questions over and over again, because it will generate text in an email as well. All of these things come with the caveat. Microsoft is really clear about this with AI. It says they say we will suggest, we will generate a suggestion, an answer, but it's your responsibility to check, and it does not use anybody else's data. There's no data farming going on in the Microsoft AI world. It is being pointed at your data, generating the information for you, and it's not being sold and farmed out to any other person. And I feel more comfortable with it ethically, I think, because of that. This unified technology, one complete source of customer data with a single business platform and shared data, is absolutely right the way back to what we were talking about. But the accounts and contacts in the customer service platform are the same accounts and contacts in your sales platform, your marketing platform, your field service platform. And then this is new as well. Collaborating live in Teams, hop on a call. You don't get so much interruption happening for your service agents or for your devs, for example, if they're working in a support environment, whose time you really want to protect. If they can determine, I'll call out now, I'll send a message now, if it's under their control as well. The Teams collaboration is available in any of these platforms. Field service. Field service is an incredibly powerful solution. I don't see being used often enough, really. And yet again, we've got these co-pilot parts of it with regard to work orders and order management. It's really fleet of vans going out and about. It will help you schedule. It will recognise the particular qualifications of that's required for somebody attending, for example. It will actually have the product manuals in there, so that if somebody's out on site, can also use something called guides, which is quite an incredible thing too. But then also where the hub where things are coming in, this is how you would manage your Internet of Things, for example. If you've got those kinds of reports coming in, any self-service scheduling that's coming in, I need a call, please come and see my boiler, it's not working. Automated communication, we're on our way, one of our staff members will be with you by whatever time. It can also link into a rather lovely mapping product that sits on top of Dynamics 365 called Maplytics, which will plot routes, best route, and show you where agents are on that route. So it's a really valuable, fully functioning solution already. And now add in AI, I think it's a game changer, really is. And then that will connect out into your financial or inventory data, for example, and particularly if you're running it in something like Dynamics 365 Business Central, then it's a beautiful virtual circle, isn't it? Virtuous circle. Brings me nicely into Dynamics 365 Business Central. So finance, service and operations. It has a very small bit of a sales functionality built into it. It's not fully functioned CRM, and everything is seen through the lens of the finance solution. So it is an opportunity is basically an amount that might come in, and then it will generate a pipeline from it. But it doesn't provide you with that opportunity to see interactions or to manage more complex sales processes, for example. Similarly, it has a little bit of a HR solution in there, but it's not a fully featured HR management solution where you could, request leave, that kind of stuff. But if you are a type of business that's actually selling stuff that you get in and that you send out and that you might get back under warranty and then you repair and you send out again, or that you are creating, you buy parts in, widgets, gaskets, bolts, whatever they are. I don't know, I'm going off piece there. Stop me, I'm coming back. Yes, so manufacturing and BOM is really what I meant to say. Bill of materials, so assembly to order. You can manage all of these things in Dynamics 365 Business Central. Now, if you're comparing this, you would compare this with something like Sage, but the top level Sage, basically. It would not be a Sage Line 50 or whatever it was. And the beauty of this is, of course, that it is in the cloud and that you could create a sales order because of this connectivity with Outlook, for example. You can actually view information in Dynamics 365 Business Central directly from your Outlook. Somebody sends you an email from within your Outlook, using a little application that sits on a plugin that sits on top of your Outlook. You can create a sales order, you can create a purchase order, and you can send the person an invoice, all from your Outlook while you're out and about. There's also a Dynamics 365 Business Central application as well, mobile application that you can run on anything. It's a really fully featured solution. There are we've kind of identified certain businesses that it works very well for, but if you're looking for something to replace something like Iris or Opera with, it's very well worth considering that. Touchdown. So a lot of the time we've talked about what we do when we've got a customer and how we use Dynamics 365 with that. How do we get more customers? Well, there is a Dynamics 365 marketing suite called Customer Insights Journeys. It is a very powerful solution, but it's much more aimed at an organization that has people walk in and you might register that they're, because they're on your Wi-Fi in your shop, for example, or in your restaurant, you register that they're back in, and then you send them an SMS text message with a voucher for the next for their next meal, their next drink, their next discount, for example. It's aimed at organizations that really want to manage the buying signals of their customers, and it is a really, really powerful solution. But if it's too powerful for you, and because it's powerful, it's not cheap. Basically, you buy per tenant per month, and then on top of that you have to buy contact capacity licenses. So it's not a cheap option. A cheaper option is Touchdown, which is integrated completely with Dynamics 365 Sales, uses Dataverse, and allows you to segment and target your recipients with marketing lists. You can do the usual creating content. You can that it's called a campaign automation is called Scenarios, that allows you to plot a journey for a customer. It has the ability to send SMSs as well, and marketing people tend to find this a little easier to use than, say, the fully featured Dynamics 365 marketing, because that can sometimes appear a little bit techy. I mean, it's worth, if you have that requirement, it is so worth getting to grips with it. But if that isn't a requirement, then this is an option for you. And this is a Power App. So this is not supplied by Microsoft. It uses some Microsoft licensing, Power App Premium generally, and then on top of that you buy a subscription. This is what's known as an ISV product. So it's a third-party product developed using the Power Platform to sit on top and natively integrate with Dynamics 365. This is a new it's a new brand and breed of Power App, really, and we're going to see more and more of those coming on board. This is similarly. So now we're talking about things that use Power Apps they're called model-driven apps. So basically they use the model provided by Dynamics 365 platform, but they use the much cheaper licensing of Power Apps to access it. And it means that they are a very cost-effective way of actually having a lot of the great features and functionalities that you get with Dynamics 365 Sales. Or, for example, here we've got a little HR solution here. Here we're running asset lifecycle work order management, for example. It's a kind of combination of field service and asset management there. So these are new breed. At the moment, you do not get Copilot with these. If you wanted Copilot with it, you would have to point it at it. You'd have to buy it separately and point it at it. It might be that that's something you think is valuable enough to do it, and there is space in your budget now because you're not paying the Dynamics 365 licensing. But we'd be happy to advise where, which we thought would work for you and what would work best. But certainly we're seeing a lot of interest in this, and as I've said, I think you will see more and more. You get the usual kind of connectivity. You will still connect to Outlook. You will still be able to see your data in Teams, all of that stuff, because it's built in the Power Platform. I'm aware of the time. It's coming up for 10 minutes left. So I'm just going to briefly mention this. This is the HR management for Dynamics 365. It's an alternative to Dynamics 365 HR. It's fully featured and it's built on customer engagement. There are two licensing costs. There is the Power App license and then the IP license to use this, which is based upon your role within the organization. Obviously, HR management is the top one. But what it does do is give you employee self-service, allows your colleagues to book time, leave off, all of those, present spreadsheets, offer travel and expenses, receipts, for example, all of those things. So this is another ISV product that we're seeing used more and more. So I think we've spoken through some of the differences with the Power Apps. I'm just going to, I think I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment and then skip to the end so that we can actually have some interaction with people if there are some questions there. So do we have any questions is the question I've got for you, Ben.
Let me have a very quick look for you. We don't have any currently on here, but again, something that I was slightly interested while you were talking about that was around the Copilot piece. So it's interesting that in all of those scenarios, Copilot doesn't necessarily fix problems. It is very much built around sort of efficiency enhancement and just making things that already work significantly easier to work, which is quite an interesting way of thinking about it, because I find that a lot of Copilot is built around sort of solutions, and this will fix XYZ problem for you. Whereas really it seems to be positioned, certainly in this scenario, as a way to make what you're doing already much easier and better so that you've got other time to do it. Is that sort of consistent with how you see it as well?
I think that's a really astute way of looking at it, Ben. The fact is that we're not just clever as human beings, we're also stupid and ignorant and all of those other things. And if it's been trained on us, you know, it's not going to be eternally right, is it? And actually, often with the technicians, they say, "Oh, Copilots are not." You know, if you do put something into Bing Chat, for example, this is a slightly more philosophical answer to your question, but I think it's true. They say it'll start off right, and then it'll just veer off in some other direction completely, and they you know, they don't really get how it could think that that would be right. So I like the fact that it will learn on your own systems, but it's up to us to check it. It really is. We cannot rely on it to do it. And why would we want to? In fact, why would we want to hand over the best parts of our jobs, the bits where we're thinking, solving problems, all of that? We want the grunt work done, really. I really want to have an AI tell me what day and which bins go out on this day and to put them out for me. You know, that would be perfect, I think. But I think I'm talking about a robot there, not AI. But you know, so yes, I agree with you. I think the onus on us is always to check, do we agree with that? And I think that's as a wider thing as well. It won't solve problems. It will enable you to gather information together, I think. And some of the stuff it does in terms of creating content can be really useful as well, particularly on the marketing apps.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, in lieu of any questions now, I appreciate that's, you know, we had those big slides and they're really scary and it's quite an overwhelming space to be in. So I think that if we were to get questions, they're likely to be from people following this that might think, oh, actually, how would that apply to my business?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think to sort of really build on that, Wendy and I are both happy to have conversations with anyone and everyone about it. It's something that both of us really like to talk about. So
Yeah.
I'd really encourage anyone that has questions or just wants to talk about it, why it works, where it doesn't, try to find holes in it, whatever you'd like to do, by all means, reach out to Wendy and I, and we can have, you know, a 30-minute review with you. We can talk about how Power Apps would work, or, you know, conversely, it might be that we turn around and say, absolutely not, you need something that does this, or these are the holes, these are the gaps that need plugging.
Yeah.
So both of us are happy to do those and answer any questions that you guys have. We do have another webinar coming up. So it's going to be around sort of modern workplace. We don't have a time and a date set for that, but just a sort of keep your eyes open as some of those emails start flying out to let you know about when that happens. And we'd love to see you on that as well. And I think really that's closing from me, unless there's anything else that you have, Wendy, that you want to go through or point out. Or
I don't think so, other than to join you there, Ben, in saying that, you know, it's not a decision to be made quickly. There are implementation costs. If you're a small business, you need to, you know, make sure you've got the time resourcing in there for people to enable whatever consultant is working on your solution to get the right answers in a timely manner. Those are the kind of places where projects can get really spun out. So prep is always good there, you know, and we're always willing to help with that and to offer advice on that. Love to hear from you. And yes, I can talk for England on this, and I am trying to round to a close here, just to say that the Power App side of things is a huge opportunity here. But don't forget that Dynamics 365 has had years and years of development and money put into it. So it's highly featured. They are similar, but they are not the same thing. And we can help you decide which one works for you best.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for taking the time. Thank you, Wendy. And we look forward to speaking to you on the next one.
Thanks, Ben.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.